Hi, this is the Autama project for Capstone of Spring 2020, and I'm Sharice.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Hal.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Michael.
I'm Nick.
I'm Ryan.
And here's a video demo of our project.
Hi, this is Team Autama and a demonstration of our webpage from a user's perspective. This is the landing page, which tells you a little bit about Autama and lets you meet a few. Well, let's register for an account. Creating an account is fast and easy. There we go. After account creation, or login, you are sent to one of the main screens called Swipe or Find Matches. This screen shows you the Autama, and you have the decision to either match or not with them. Let's go through a few. Now that we've matched with a few, let's proceed to the next step, which is chatting with them. At the top, we'll select the chat icon, which leads to our second main interaction page, My Matches. Here, you can look at those you've matched with, the conversations you've had, or even search through them. Let's chat with one. On this, the chat page, you're able to interact with the personality behind the Autama. You're shown 3 of its interests, but there are more behind the scenes you'll only find by interacting. There we go. We already knew he had a cat named George, and obviously he liked to eat chicken and rice. If we kept chatting, we'd be able to find several or more of his hidden interests that we can't see. Let's try another. I'm not sure what a real estate company is doing with a trainer, but it's interesting they like animals. I suspect that's probably not an animal trainer. It's sad they don't watch TV, but they're a trainer for a real estate company, which must have been one of their hidden interests. Well, that's been fun, but let's look into creating our own from the My Autama page. This page will display all of your currently created Autama and let you create more. There are some instructions and some examples to make this easier. What should we create? Perhaps the ultimate Beatles fan, so we'll go and call him Beatles. For a last name, maybe we'll just say the fan. Now we need to add some personality to the Autama. Well, if they like the Beatles, they probably like classic rock. Maybe we can add some song lyrics to make them interesting. Well, we haven't said anything actually about the Beatles. I'm sure they actually like the Beatles, though. So let's say they like John, Paul, George, and Ringo. Maybe to make it really interesting, how about they live in a yellow submarine? There we go. Now that it's been created, we definitely need to chat with our own creation. Well, let's see what we can find out. They like rock and classic rock. Nice. Let's see if we can draw out the yellow submarine we know is there. Yellow submarine in the desert in Florida might be a little too interesting. Let's just cut to the chase a little bit and see what we can find. Not sure if he likes it, but lives in one. I think I can relate. We have many other features, however. This concludes our brief user demo. Please join us on autama.org to create, chat, and enjoy Autama. Thank you.
So now that you've seen a video of our demo, we can talk a little bit about an overview of our project. We wanted to create a responsive web platform for crowdsourced Autama sharing and interaction. Autama is a blended version of a bot and a generative conversational AI. And Autama profiles consist of a profile photo, which we generated using StyleGAN so that it was not a person, but it sure does look like a person. And a personality that consists of 6 traits, at least right now, that are individually tailored by the user in order to have meaningful conversation about specific domains of topic. We wanted to create a form of digital interaction that's really similar to Tinder, where a user can log in, they can chat with Autama, they can swipe an Autama and match and unmatch in the simple, easy way that Tinder does, and we wanted to emulate. Now, who's going to use this? Everybody's going to use this. This is really meant just to be a fun project for anybody who really loves the novelty of AI. Anybody who's bored, who just wants to log on and spend some time chatting with some quirky AI personalities, anybody who's into natural language processing, and anybody who's into open source, because we created it using an open source platform in order to let people join our project, contribute, make it a lot better. But in the meantime, it's kind of a fun way to pass your time. And we hope in the future that we can get corporations to join in and participate with the project. So like Google and Alexis, that way they can kind of use our platform to compare their AI personalities to each other. And then in the end, hopefully improve them all overall. Now, Nick is going to talk a little bit about some of the assumptions, constraints, and references of our project.
The assumptions we made largely revolved around time, such as the sponsor's availability and the team's availability, including the class time we all had scheduled automatically and our availability outside of that to actually get work done, as well as avoiding school and other school work commitments. We did have to assume some things about Android integration, as we only had one member who had much experience with that, as well as a server architecture. We were constrained as part of the server architecture as well from the sponsor's request to put it on his AWS server and account. We also had some class mandated deadlines, such as today's date for this speech, and as well as turning code over to our sponsor. We did have some references, such as the Django documentation. We had a technical sponsor who was able to help us quite a bit, as well as the ubiquitous Stack Overflow. For our tech stack, for the Android portion, we use TastyPie for the API, as well as Android Development Studio for programming and emulation of the Android device. Django was used as the backend to handle requests to the server. The server is also composed of Nginx on top of a Gunicorn web server gateway. And for the AI, we used Convai and StyleGAN. Next, Aaron discusses the Autama features.
We have some many features for our Autama apps and application. A user can match with one of these Autama. A user can chat with a matched Autama. A user can create also a custom Autama with plugged in interests of their own. And a user can also share an interesting Autama with one of their friends. If they've created an Autama they want to show one of their friends, it'd be a really amazing thing to do. After logging into your account, there will be a main screen with a picture of a randomly generated face. None of the people you are actually seeing are real people in this world. Everything has been randomly generated using a GPU, and that makes this even more immersed, and it's amazing that you can actually talk to one of these people. You can swipe left or right on them, allowing you to match with the Autama that you would be interested in talking to, depending on their interests. Are you done talking for the day? Well, we keep a history of your conversation so that if you have to leave, the conversation can keep going on and on for the next coming days. Future features? Well, if we had some more time on this app, we would definitely make it a cleaner website and mobile app, thus making it maybe better colors, making it better API, making it more interactive with the user. We'd also have to add a user Autama matching based on interests. So if you have a similar interest to an Autama, we might put that one a little bit higher on the list or make it a mark to show that, hey, you might be interested in this Autama. We also improve the Autama personalities per se, maybe have some more expansive personalities. We'd be able to improve the user interface, like I mentioned before, and we'd also maybe work more about the chat part of this. And next is how.
In the design of the page, the programming language, our team uses HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Ajax. A total of 9 responsive pages in our project. We mainly use red, purple, and white as the primary colors. Bubble navigation bar is used on each page. It makes the project more like a whole. Our team designs most of pages according to the requirements of the sponsors. Next is Michael. He will introduce the deliverables.
Hi, okay, deliverables. So obviously a code base on a public repository under an open source license. That code base consists of a web application as well as a coupled Android application. Finally, we are delivering to our sponsor a fully configured EC2 instance in which to host our web application and our database with which our Android app will communicate with. Now, for database design, we use Django because that framework manages databases for us. It allows us the option to plug in or plug out a database depending on desire, reasoning, data structure. So we opted for a SQL relational database because that's what we were most familiar with. Django thankfully abstracts away from that, so that decision could be changed down the road. Just to briefly describe our data, we have 2 main tables, an Autama and a user, 9 additional tables that track various ways of associating these 2 tables. So mimicking Tinder when a user matches with an Autama, conversations users have with Autamas, and obviously linking a user to the Autama they create. Now I will have Ryan discuss our development process.
Right, so our development process was to have weekly sprints with 2 meetings per week. Mondays, we would plan the sprint, or plan the next sprint and review the past one. Fridays would be a check-in to discuss progress, any problems we ran into, and possibly to make adjustments. Initially, we had many teams that were broken up into areas of Android, front-end, back-end, etc. As the project progressed, we had individual page assignments, and then in the very end, we had individual feature assignments, which might be bug fixes or adding small features. We had 2 sponsor design mockups. The first when the project started back in early February, and that really helped us start to design the website, the UI. But recently, in the middle of May, we had a major change and a new UI mockup. This included new colors, different structural changes, and required a lot of work, but we made it happen. For collaboration, we use GitHub with a master branch, that's our working branch that we use for our website, and then a dev branch, just in case we break something. Towards the end, we ramped up our testing and bug fixes, and we could have done testing earlier, but we're doing it now. Now for our timeline. The project began early February. We had a kickoff meeting. Shortly after that, we got our first mockup. As the term progressed, we started to move our UI towards Tinder's UI, and we got the front end and the back end connected, which really helped us move forward with the project. Recently, we had a feature freeze, and we began bug fixing. One of the main issues was that on mobile, things weren't appearing properly, and so we're working on that. It's going well. And now we're in the final presentation. And next, Nick will be talking about responsibilities and contributions.
At the beginning, the team was broken up more by function between front and back end. This was primarily the research section of the project. Once implementation began, the roles were kept briefly, but soon were converted to a more feature-led development style. Aaron worked on the Android app development and the back-end API for Android. Hao was tasked primarily with front-end development across the project and was involved with every page, developing the user profile almost exclusively. Kevin was the AI guru and worked on integrating Convey to the back-end. Additionally, he handled all of the Autama personality generation and contributed to the front end after that. Michael handled much of the back-end work and initial database design, further helping with Android development and implementing the API to allow Android data flow. Nick handled the dev server setup and operation, additionally worked on both the front end, back end of many pages. Ryan worked on the front end, developing the matches page almost exclusively. In addition, he was responsible for many of the responsive pop-ups, including reporting, feedback, and the privacy policy. Sharice was our project team lead, handling our weekly meetings, overall task delegation, and perhaps most importantly, sponsor interaction. Sharice also set up the live server on Autama.org. Next is Kevin discussing unexpected events we encountered during our project.
Thanks, Nick. The pandemic was certainly one. It caused everything to go online, which didn't really help us. Sometimes we had internet problems and couldn't join a meeting. However, since we're all team players, we helped each other catch up when that happened. We also had to deal with some people crashing our meetings. Near the end of the project, we had to deal with 2 redesigns. One came from our sponsor. He came up with a new design and wanted us to add that to the site. The other one came from test users. They pointed out that our site wasn't displaying correctly on their mobile devices. Because of those redesigns, and we only had a week or 2 left, we had to stay up late several nights to complete the redesigns. Because we screwed up so many times, we actually learned a lot. I'll let Ryan explain.
Yeah, so although we did screw up a fair amount, we also got a lot done and we adapted to change very well. One of the issues that came up was designing for mobile. We had the goal of having a responsive website, and it worked really well on a desktop or a laptop, shrinking your screen. But then when you go to a mobile device, some things would be ridiculously small or overlapping. And so this was an oversight in that we didn't design for mobile off the bat, which could have saved us a lot of change and heartache. One of the big things we learned is to refactor and test early and often, and don't push broken code. So for example, recently I did a settings change to send email, and it ended up breaking the server. You couldn't even run it. I pushed my code, and now our dev branch had, a not working project, and I kind of screwed over some people with that. Communication is very important. You need to ask teammates for help when you need it. Don't get stuck and just spin your wheels. And notify your team of problems early on, because you might have someone who has completed their tasks or has some extra time, and they can help out, and that helps out the whole team. Along that line, failing to deliver affects the entire team. In a normal class, if you put off a project or you don't quite complete it, it only affects you and your grade. But when you fail to deliver in this kind of environment, it affects the entire team, especially if there's tasks that people depend on to progress with theirs. One of the big things we learned is to be flexible with sponsors' requirement changes. So when I discussed that big mock-up change in May, we had to compromise because we couldn't do everything that he wanted. It would take too much work, too much change. We might break something. So we sort of met in the middle, and Sharice did an excellent job negotiating with him. And I think the team and the sponsor ended up happy because of that. I think one of the big takeaways with Capstone is you need to be resourceful and be willing to learn new skills and tools. So a lot of us had never done web before. And me personally, when I started off, I was very frustrated. HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that was all new to me. And I felt like I was making progress very slowly. But as I kept learning, I kept having embarrassing Stack Overflow questions. I got more and more comfortable and confident. As future software engineers, developers, that's a very important skill. You'll be expected to have to learn new tech, new languages, and to adapt. And now Michael will discuss customer feedback.
Now that our project has reached a good stopping point and we have something tangible to present, we've been passing our project around to our friends and family, getting as much feedback as we possibly can. The vast majority of it has been positive, and I will end on that. But first, let's address some of the critiques or point of interest that people have presented to us. The biggest one is the usability of our app. As of now, it's not the most intuitive. It looks very pretty, but a lot of the icons don't necessarily scream what they're meant to do. And a consistent theme in our feedback was somebody sitting down with our app and not intuitively knowing how to navigate it. So there's been that. In addition, we are using generative models to create bots that hold conversations. And we don't necessarily fully understand the technology yet, And as a result, some of the conversations that users have can get rather risky. And that's useful to know. But although many of our friends have pointed out that maybe we should try and limit the use of this app to adults, nobody has blatantly said this is a terrible trait, because most adults will sit down and have a conversation with an AI. And although it may be a little unrefined or blunt, it's still something to be appreciated, and most of our friends appreciate that. Now, as for just positive feedback, everyone loves it. You get to chat with this bot, and the people behind Hugging Face have done a really good job. It really mimics a real life experience. So yeah, people seem to like our product. It's a cool, fun toy to pass some time with, and we're very, very proud of ourselves and thankful for all the support we've gained. With that said, we're grateful for our sponsor, and now he will give some closing remarks.
Hi, I'm Stephen Oakes. I'm the originator of the Autama project and Autama.org, and a design strategist. And PSU asked me to come and be a client for a team of students for Capstone project. And so I said I wanted to create the system of Autamas. And Autamas are artificially created personalities based on DNA. And this is based on the work that has been done by Hugging Face with CONV AI, and additionally GPT-2. And also we created images to go along with those personalities from a StyleGAN. So I came up with the concept, and the team were the builders, and I set the stage and left it kind of open and said, hey, let's try to find something really interesting in this process. Which means that they couldn't just do a list of deliverables and go through it. They had to be agile and pivot, which, if you can imagine a group of college students doing that, is really, really exceptional. So that's why I'm making this video, is to do a shout out to the team and say, great work. I wanted to say, great job, Aaron, for working on the app. And that's something that we want to continue to work on after the capstone is over. How? Way to push it. I know that the interface piece was a challenge for you, and you definitely overcame it, so well done. Kevin, you were instrumental in the team. I'm happy that you came up with Dr. Autama. That's very cool. Michael, you shout out with database work. Way to power through that. Nick, thanks for bringing your experience in the field to the team. I think that helped out a lot. And Ryan, I know that you were struggling a little bit in the beginning with some stuff, but you jumped in here at the end, and I saw you just whip some stuff out. Great work, right? And then big shout out to Sharice, the team lead, who did an amazing job keeping everybody in line and working with me when I would throw a wrench in. I think that you guys have shown your capability to overcome adversity. And I think that all of you have really great careers ahead of yourselves for the type of tenacity that you have when you really jump into something and want to accomplish it. That was great. So we're opening up the project to anybody who wants to participate. So if you go to Autama.org and you like it, we have a variety of different things we'd like to complete. We'd like to, this is a high fidelity prototype to try to understand the experience, and now we'd like to take the user experience to the next level. We'd like to work with the Hugging Face system so that we can add more to it, a larger corpus, and make the experience of chatting with an Autama even more rich. And we also have a laundry list of other things that we'd like to accomplish. So anybody who'd like to join in, you can send an email to Sharice@Autama.org, or you can send an email to myself too, Stephen@Autama.org, and we'll plug you in to participate. So once again, as far as how many thumbs up, 2 for the team.
This project has been so much fun for us to build over the last 6 months, and we want to give a big thank you to everybody who supported us, all of our professors, our friends, and our family, and also thank you, Bruce, for being our capstone guide. We'd also like to give a big thank you to Stephen, our sponsor, for giving us such a challenging and exciting project to work on. During the 5-minute demo that we showed you in the beginning, we were only able to share some of the fun features that we built into Autama.org, but we would love if you would come and join us and check all of the full features out. Come have some wacky conversations, come build your own Autama, and you can even share your custom Autama with your friends and family, and they can experience it even if they don't have an account. Please feel free to send us feedback or contact us if you want to join our Happy Slackers team. Thank you guys so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you there.